passionate fans, a great Tuesday to all of you. We can still feel the energy from that remarkable victory on Sunday, but the Eagle never rests. Our eyes are already on the horizon, and there are the Rams, ready for the next battle. The road is tough, the fight is intense, but our Green Nation knows that every game is a war. If you bleed green, don't forget to hit that like button, because here we speak with the green soul, the soul of the Eagle that never surrenders. Let's fly together, because Sunday brings us another epic chapter in the journey of the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. After just 2 games into the 2025 campaign, fans across Philadelphia are already calling for offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo to be fired. That's right, 8 quarters of football, and there's a real sense of frustration building up in this city. And you know what? I get it. Eagles fans have some of the highest football IQs in the league. We live and breathe every snap. But sometimes our passion makes us react emotionally, especially early in the season. Still, the complaints aren't coming from nowhere. In Week 1, during the season opener against the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles hoisted the Lombardi banner and had the chance to make a statement. Instead, the offense managed just 302 yards. They averaged 4.9 yards per play against a Dallas defense missing Micah Parsons and adjusting under a new coordinator. Jalen Hurts went 19 of 23 for 144 yards, while the run game leaned heavily on Saquon Barkley and Hurts himself, totaling 158 yards. Philadelphia did find the end zone on their first 3 drives, but then completely fizzled out, producing only a Jake Elliott field goal in the second half after the weather delay. The rhythm was gone, and the performance felt flat. Week 2 brought an even tougher test against the Kansas City Chiefs and defensive mastermind Steve Spagnuolo. Everyone knew Spags would bring the blitz, and he did just that, sending pressure on over 60% of Hurts' dropbacks. The Eagles couldn't adjust. They managed only 217 yards of total offense, a weak 3.7 yards per play. Hurts completed 15 of 22 passes for just 101 yards. The ground game wasn't much better. 123 yards on 34 carries, just 3.6 per attempt. The silver lining? No turnovers. And we know in the NFL, if you win the turnover battle, you win most games. But the absence of explosive plays is glaring. In fact, across 2 games, the Eagles have only 3 passing plays of more than 10 yards. That's shocking when you remember what this offense was under Shane Steichen in 2022, leading the league with 169 explosive plays, nearly 10 per game. Hurts back then was launching deep balls to A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, and the offense was unstoppable. Now Hurts's average depth of target sits at just 6 yards, the lowest of his career. For context, 7.9 in 2021, 6.9 in 2022, 9.6 in 2023, 2023, 6.8 in 2024, and now a concerning 6.0. Against Kansas City, he had only 1 real deep completion, the strike to DeVonta Smith that required perfect protection and Barkley picking up the blitz.
This lack of vertical threat is killing the offense. Defenses know the ball isn't going deep, and they're sitting on the short game. Some of this falls on Hurts, who occasionally hesitates to pull the trigger, but much of it points back to play design and play calling. Too often, receivers simply aren't getting open downfield despite solid pass protection. With stars like A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, it's baffling that the offense looks this predictable. What makes this sting even more for fans is the sense of déjà vu. In 2023, under Brian Johnson, the offense collapsed late in the season, becoming predictable and uninspired. Now, with Patullo promoted internally, many fear it's the same movie playing out again. Fans see vanilla play calling, heavy reliance on short checkdowns, and tendencies that make the offense easy to diagnose. For example, through 2 games, when the Eagles line up under center, they run 96% of the time. From the pistol, 91.3% run. From shotgun, 33.8% run. Those numbers make it obvious what's coming, and defenses are pouncing. To make matters worse, the tight end situation isn't helping. With Dallas Goedert sidelined, the Eagles are missing not only his reliable hands but also his blocking ability. Brett Calcaterra has struggled badly in both pass and run blocking, and Kylan Granson hasn't been much better. The lack of a competent blocking tight end wrecked a beautifully drawn-up play on the very first snap against Kansas City. Patullo dialed up a long-developing shot for A.J. Brown, who was wide open downfield. But poor blocks from Granson and Calcaterra forced Hurts to step up, fumble, and kill what could have been a 70-yard touchdown. That's a perfect example of execution failing good play design. Still, We have to remember Patchelo is just 2 games into his career as a play caller. His first matchups? Matt Eberflus and Steve Spagnuolo, 2 veteran defensive minds. That's not exactly an easy entry point. Sirianni himself admitted that the focus at practice this week is on creating explosive plays, because without them, this offense cannot compete with the league's best. And while the Eagles' conservative approach, prioritizing ball security, has kept them winning games, there's a clear ceiling unless they unlock the deep passing game. Now here's the real question. Should fans panic after 2 sluggish offensive outings, or should we trust Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patchelo to make the necessary adjustments, just like they've done in the past? You know this team has turned seasons around before, and even last year, when the passing attack sputtered early, they ended up hoisting the Lombardi. So I'll leave it here for part 1. Do you believe Kevin Patchelo deserves more time to prove himself, or is it already time for the Eagles to explore a different direction? Let's keep it rolling, because this conversation is far from over. When we're talking about Kevin Patchelo and the Philadelphia Eagles offense, it's important to look beyond just the first 2 weeks. History tells us this team has struggled early before and then found its rhythm later in the year. Think back to 2024. Through the first several weeks, the Eagles looked average at best. They barely scraped by the Packers in Brazil, then lost to the Falcons, then stumbled again against the Saints and the Buccaneers. The offense couldn't find its groove. Yet, after week 7, something clicked. The run game exploded against the Giants, the pass game lit up the Bengals, and the team never looked back, eventually winning the Super Bowl. That's the kind of turnaround we've seen under Nick Sirianni, and it's a reminder not to throw in the towel too soon. Still, this doesn't excuse the fact that the Eagles' offensive identity right now is predictable and conservative. When you're lining up under center and running 96% of the time, defenses don't even need to guess. That makes life harder on Jalen Hurts, and it limits the ability of explosive playmakers like A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith to impact the game. The real concern isn't just lack of production, it's lack of creativity. Fans are right to demand more. They've seen what this team looks like when it's unpredictable, versatile, and attacking downfield. One stat that should calm some nerves, though, is how effective Jalen Hurts has been on 3rd down. Against the Cowboys, he was perfect, 6 of 6 for 78 yards and added 32 rushing yards with a touchdown. Against the Chiefs, 6 of 8 for 59 yards, plus that clutch strike to DeVonta Smith under heavy pressure. Those are winning plays. They might not show up in highlight reels the same way a 70-yard bomb would, but they sustain drives and win football games. That's the kind of situational football that separates contenders from pretenders. Now, let's address one of the hottest topics in the league, the tush push, or as we call it, the brotherly shove. Once again, it's at the center of NFL controversy. Against Kansas City, the Eagles leaned on it heavily, converting time after time. Yes, there were moments when the offensive line seemed to move early, and yes, Andy Reid and Chris Jones were vocal about it. But let's be real, if you slowed down any play in the NFL frame by frame, you'd find movement. The reality is this: the Eagles run the play better than anyone else in football because Jalen Hurts has the unique lower body strength and leverage to make it work. Other teams have tried. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, even Kenny Pickett, they can't replicate it. Why? Because it's not just the scheme, it's the personnel. Hurts squats 600 pounds. That matters. So, when you hear people calling for the play to be banned, it's not really about fairness. It's about jealousy. It's about frustration. The Eagles have perfected something unstoppable, and instead of figuring out how to stop it, the league wants to eliminate it. That's not competition. That's fear. But make no mistake, if this play is taken away, it will fundamentally change how the Eagles handle short yardage situations. And given how clutch it's been for this team, especially in high-stakes games, losing it could cost them big moments. Another layer here is the blocking problems at tight end. Without Dallas Goedert, the Eagles' screen game suffers, and their ability to protect on designed deep shots is compromised. Brent Calcaterra and Kylan Granson have struggled badly. On that opening play against Kansas City, Patchelo dialed up a beauty, a long developing shot to A.J. Brown that was open for a touchdown. But because the blocks weren't there, Hurts got pressured, fumbled, and the entire narrative around the offense shifted in one snap. Execution matters. Sometimes the coordinator draws up the right call, but if players miss their assignments, fans only remember the failure. And that leads to the bigger picture: patience. Patchelo is brand new in this role. 2 games in, facing elite defensive coordinators, with injuries at key positions, it's not surprising that things look shaky. But if you think back, fans were saying the same things about other coordinators before everything clicked. Remember how Shane Steichen was questioned at first, then went on to lead the most explosive offense in football? Adjustments take time. Sirianni has shown a willingness to make those adjustments in season, and history says he will again. But here's where it gets really interesting. There's already chatter that if Pachulo doesn't work out, the Eagles could look at someone like Mike McDaniel, who's under serious fire in Miami. The Dolphins look lost, the locker room's fractured, and McDaniel might not survive the season. Say what you want about him as a head coach, but his offensive creativity is undeniable. His background with Kyle Shanahan, his ability to craft innovative run schemes and disguise passing concepts, pair that with Hurts, Brown, Smith, Barkley, and Goddard, and suddenly you're looking at an offense that could be terrifying again. It's way too early to make that move, but the thought is out there, and fans are already debating it. So here's where I'll wrap this second part. The Eagles are 18-1 in their last 19 games. They've been winning despite the lack of explosive plays, because they're playing smart, turnover-free football. That's not something to ignore. But we can't deny the reality either. The offense feels limited, and if the goal is another Super Bowl, they'll need to open things up. So now I want to hear from you. Should the Eagles stay patient with Kevin Pachulo and trust that the offense will evolve, or should they already be considering alternatives before it's too late? Drop your thoughts below, smash that subscribe button, and keep it locked here because we've got plenty more Eagles coverage coming your way. And here's the thing, Eagles fans, this story is far from finished. The truth is, the Eagles offense doesn't need to be perfect right now, in September. What it needs to be is adaptable, and history shows us this team knows how to adapt when it matters most. That's why Nick Sirianni's track record of making mid-season corrections should give you some confidence. In 2021, he completely flipped the identity of this team mid-year, going from pass-heavy to run-first, and it saved the season. In 2022, he unleashed the full potential of Jalen Hurts in the passing game, and the Eagles lit the league on fire. Even last season, when things looked ugly early, adjustments turned the offense into a Super Bowl winning machine. So, while it's frustrating now, we have to acknowledge that this coaching staff has earned the benefit of the doubt. But let's be clear, adjustments need to come soon. Defenses already know the Eagles' tendencies. They know what's coming based on formation. That cannot continue if this offense wants to unlock its true ceiling. We're talking about a roster stacked with weapons. A.J. Brown is one of the most physically dominant receivers in the NFL. DeVonta Smith has route running precision that makes him a nightmare to cover. Saquon Barkley can beat you as both a runner and a receiver. And when Dallas Goedert is back at full strength, he's a mismatch nightmare. Combine all of that with an offensive line still among the best in the league, and there's simply no excuse for the offense to feel this predictable. What I'll say is this, the Eagles don't need to panic, but they do need urgency. They can't afford to let the same issues from 2023 creep back into this season. Fans have already seen what happens when conservative play calling and lack of creativity linger too long. It cost them momentum, it cost them rhythm, and it nearly cost them a season. The good news? They're still winning games, still playing clean football, and still in control of their destiny. So as we close this chapter, let me leave you with one final thought. The Eagles don't need to reinvent